Like I said, your girl Tulsi Gabbard is all in favor of the Fairness Doctrine.
First off, I didn't know until the other day that Tulsi Gabbard isn't even in Congress anymore. I didn't realize she didn't run again.
I know.
I just assumed she was running again.
She was all in for president, and now she's private citizen.
I kind of respect that. Very Cincinnati-ish of her.
I do too. And I'm not taking your bait because I do not want to hear the 5-minute explanation of what Cincinnati-ish means.
No bait on that one. You have to look up what Cincinnati is, who Cincinnati-ish was, what he did, why it's important.
It's not a city in Ohio.
And how it relates to the Abraham Lincoln Memorial. That's homework for us, the listener. And I guarantee you, Buddy Wright knows everything I just said that came out of my mouth. I guarantee you.
Of course he did.
It's like, oh yeah, that's 100% of what this means and blah, 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 blah. But yeah.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, this is Ryan.
I'm Robin.
What's going on?
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
I found this guy at the airport last night.
We need to talk about that. Yeah. So
we're going to talk about my battery dying and
yeah, we've got all kinds of stories. So I have been in the middle of the Middle West in Iowa for the
Middle West.
I'm quoting the song Alabama, or the group Alabama in a song they had about minor league baseball. In their hometown. Oh my God,
I cannot handle your Cliff Clavin facts right now.
I'm sorry, but yes, I was in Sioux City, Iowa for there about 3 weeks. Been working that gig since before Christmas, but cool area. Very withstood a blizzard. Saw eagles. The Missouri River is awesome. Smelled cattle. Saw cornfields for days. But back in Colorado for a short stint, and then I'm off to other things. So.
Very cool.
We are, and part of the reason we have not been producing as much material is we
are stupid.
Where there's that
40-something-year-olds who do not know how the World Wide Web works.
Sound doesn't work that well, honestly, for this. So we've been trying some other products, some other technologies, and other things that may sound better or may not, and some of them are free, and some of them you pay for, and is it worth it to pay for them? All those questions. So we're testing some things. Right now, we're actually face to face. We're in the same room right now, which is the first time in several weeks.
That's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
So then I flew in last night, and you had an issue at the airport.
Went to the cell phone lot.
Mm-hmm.
Turned my car off to save gas and just hang out for a minute. Tried to turn it back on when I knew you'd be out and about. And dead.
Battery dead.
Deader than a doornail.
Right.
And it's funny because I realized how little I see people because of COVID. I had to. The guy next to me, I asked him if he had jumper cables, and he was like, "Yeah, I think so." So he and his son got out, started looking in the back of his truck. Another guy came over and was like, "Do you need jumper cables?" And I was like, "Oh my God, all these faces, all these strangers! Like I'm so not used to this." So yeah, they jumped my car in about 30 seconds. It was all good. So yeah, note to self: don't leave lights on in your car.
Cool. Because it's like an hour from the airport to here. That would have been rough getting home last night. Other than that,
would have made for a long day.
Long walk.
But there you were.
There I was.
Yeah.
In the airport.
So what's new? Still feels like we're drinking from a fire hose, right?
It does. I don't even know where to start.
But it's like a calm fire hose. I don't wake up and go, "Oh my God, I wonder what's happening."
No, I think the coverage of the fire hose has changed.
They're still looking, though. Like, all of the media's in a tizzy about Biden's Peloton and Biden's Rolex. And I'm sorry, but like every fourth person I know has a Peloton. And
wait, what?
I know a lot of people who have Pelotons.
Seriously?
Yes, and they love them. Yeah, I know a lot of people who have Pelotons.
I don't know if I know anybody that has Peloton, and I don't know how I would feel about them if I did.
You probably know a lot of people who have them. They just might not fess up. And Rolex. Okay, Rolex is very nice. I know that.
Uh-huh.
But it's a $7,000 Rolex, which is a lot of money to me. But in the grand scheme of things, there are watches out there that are more than the average house.
Yeah, I don't really have a.
I think the media is really looking for stuff.
Dog in the fight over somebody's Rolex. Really, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care.
Right.
If you don't know that he's been in the Senate for almost 50 years and has probably grafted a little bit of money here and there and bought himself a Rolex out of the deal, then guess what? I mean,
there are State Farm insurance salesmen who have Rolexes, so I think it's okay for a 70-something-year-old man to have a Rolex.
It's not something I would ever buy for myself, but I would take one as long as it wasn't gaudy with like
No, it's like the base model.
Really, really yellow gold and lots of diamonds. That's not what I'm about. But if it was a cool, understated, subtle kind of, I'd be okay with
subtle base model. Like I think somebody had to zone in on it, like they zoned in on Pillow Guy's notes.
I tried on a Rolex Daytona one time in a jewelry store, and it actually was. I would have gone with that one if I wanted to spend that kind of money on a watch. I would have gone with that. So,
yeah.
But I never have been so inclined. So,
but that's what the media is obsessing about, and I'm like, oh, we've actually kind of gone back to boring.
Softball questions and easy, boring stuff from the media and easy stuff for their press person to worry about. Is that what we're back to finally?
I know it's not Sean Spicer up there with his millions of people, so we're good. Are you gonna look at your phone, or are you gonna do the podcast?
Sorry, I got another Bernie. I got another Bernie one of these.
All right, y'all.
Things.
Oh, I saw that one yesterday.
I hadn't seen that one.
I'm gonna say I love the Bernie memes. I think they have been more uniting than anything else in the past 5 years, because no matter what you think, you can agree that the Bernie memes are funny.
They are.
But
it's time.
It's time.
That flame burned real hard for about 3 or 4 days now. It's time to let it out. It's time to just let it go.
And I love him. And kudos to Bernie for having a sense of humor.
You said he...
If you go to his website, obviously he's not going to run for president again because he'd be 1,000,000 years old. But if you go to his website, you can buy a sweatshirt, and all the proceeds are going to, I think, Vermont's Meals for Wheels program.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
Right.
So, and it's got him with his mittens. You cannot buy the mittens. You're going to have to make them yourself. But, yeah.
You can find those mittens somewhere. I feel like those are probably... I don't know if you go to one of those LL Beans or one of those company, Filson or some company that probably caters to the northern tier states. You could probably.
I just love that he has a good sense of humor about it. Like the whole world's making fun of him,
right?
But in an endearing way. So
I like that he carried a package into the inauguration. Like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to the post office, and then I got stuff to do today.
Oh, Bernie, yeah. So we got that. You wanted to talk about the mask mandate.
I did.
You said you wanted to talk about the mask mandate and the Bidens not wearing their masks.
Oh, well, I just think it's a little bit hypocritical. It was one of those rules for thee, but not for me. We signed a mandate, and then like an hour later, they're seen on federal property not wearing their mask. So,
however, if you look at that mandate, because facts, if you look at the mandate, they were outside, and they were social distanced from everyone else. The mandate says federal property indoors. So I know people are all, again, in a tizzy about that, but they were at the Lincoln Memorial, outside, listening to Yo-Yo Ma, and they were way more than 6 feet away from everyone else.
So 100% of the time, Bernie's wearing his mask in the White House.
First
in the
of all,
West
Bernie's not.
Not Bernie. Sorry. Biden. Joe Biden.
So I can't.
I got Bernie on the brain.
I'm not following him around.
Uncle Joe.
But I will say that apparently he put on his mask right after. Like the second he started to take a step, he put on his mask. So when everybody's all about him not wearing a mask, facts, outside, social distanced, nothing against his mandate.
We'll see. We'll see. It's not the first time stuff like that has happened lately. So
yeah, mask mandate. What do you think about that with airlines and trains and whatnot?
In the last year, we have had lots and lots and lots of rules for thee, but not for me. And I'm looking at governors and congressfolk and everybody else passing these rules, mayors passing rules about you can't do this and you can't do that. And the next thing you know, they're in Cabo or they're in the spa getting their hair done.
And they should be.
Or
their feet should be held to the fire for that. Yeah. And I don't mean that literally. If you're going to take my words and run with them for a riot,
you said we should burn their feet at the stake, hanging from a tree. Oh. You said those words.
Yeah. No, they should be held accountable if they're not adhering to what they're requiring their constituents to do, but also facts. So, and I wear my mask. I'm okay with it. And yesterday, you got in my car, kissed me hello, and then pulled your mask back up.
I've been so... Well, okay, so...
I was driving, and I looked over, and I was like, you can take your mask off.
I was in the airport yesterday waiting, and I had to wait several hours in the Omaha, Nebraska airport because I didn't have anything to do. I was just like, kind of, on the holding pattern. They were serious about masks, right? And then you get on Southwest Airlines, and their flight, this flight was more full than the one I flew back in November when I go to Texas.
Right.
They were deadly serious about it. They were super serious about it because there were no more aisle and window seat onlys. They're filling in those middle seats now. So they're super serious about masks, and it was like, if you're not eating or actively drinking something, pull your mask up right now. Pull your mask, whatever.
You think recirculated air and...
Yeah. So it's on an airplane. I completely understand. I get it.
Yeah.
But I was just like, just shell shocked from, going through the airport.
I just died laughing when I was
announcement
driving.
every 15 seconds while I'm trying to read, please pull your mask up and yada, yada, yada. And so, yeah, I get in the car and, kiss you and then immediately pull my mask up. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
What
I'm
a
safe
world.
in the car.
A year ago today, we had no idea. Like, I think the first case of COVID in America was announced, I think, a year ago today or yesterday.
We're coming up on it, yeah.
Yeah, I think
And
it was.
then
It was
I
end
was
of January.
I was watching the timeline, listening to some stuff the other day about where we were, like February, March, attitudes and ideas about do we wear masks, do we not wear masks? Do masks stop this or they stop that? Whatever, and then things progressed and all that. So
Here we are with you in the car with a mask.
with a mask.
So, yeah.
So have you gotten your shot yet?
No. And
I don't think we're going to qualify until like September or October or something.
They're saying that in El Paso County, they're saying that they should be able to roll it out to adults. Like high-risk adults will be spring. They're already rolling it out to, obviously, healthcare professionals and whatnot. But I'm curious if I'll qualify as high-risk because I have asthma. If not, then healthy adults by summertime. So... I think it depends on state and county.
I saw another company is on board with I forgot which one it is. It's Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer came out with theirs. There's another company that
Moderna.
May have been, I don't remember, that has a
Moderna is the second one to come out.
Is that right? Okay, this was one, I want to say it's happened in the last week. They came out with a vaccine, so we'll see.
Yeah.
And I think some of these the newer ones coming out are a one-time deal. So, who knows?
I will get it the first second I can. And if they want to put a chip in me, then awesome. I'll be 5G.
You and I had that discussion this morning. They don't need to put in here's... Let's talk about the chip.
What, that I'll happily get chipped?
No. They don't need to put a chip in you people.
You carry one around?
You carry one around in your pocket full time, and you pay a monthly usage fee for it. It's called your cell phone. Yeah. So it's and it works.
And they're using cell phone data for all the people in the Capitol riot. Like they're literally looking at cell phone data and extrapolating.
Are they doing that for
who was where?
Are they doing that for Portland and Milwaukee and all that?
Portland, they did. Well, Portland, they didn't try to overtake the country. The Capitol.
They were trying to burn a federal building.
They did not try to stop the process. You and I are going to have to agree to disagree because those are apples and oranges, babe.
I'm just tired of the hypocrisy of this is the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of our nation. And I'm reading a book called Undaunted Courage, and what happened the other day doesn't even match the Whiskey Rebellion. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
But it's different than Portland, which there have been demonstrations and riots in Portland this week, and they've been arrested. And I think I read that there were 18 people charged so far with what happened in Portland on Wednesday and Thursday, which is faster than what they arrested people in the Capitol riots. So
we'll see.
Yeah. Yep. And that goes into, we watched, and I think we meant to talk about it, but we've been so lackadaisical with the podcast, but we watched Don't Fuck with Cats.
Oh, we got to talk about this.
Sorry, Mom, to cuss, but that's
okay.
The name
We got to
of
cuss, but it's the name of the title. Okay. Okay.
I feel like we talked about this.
No, I don't think
didn't.
we did. I don't think we wrote it down. We swore we were going to, and we did not. There is a documentary out there. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's called, the title of it is Don't Fuck with Cats. And even if you're not a cat person, even if you hate cats with every fiber of your being,
which makes you a bad person.
You've got to watch this because it has very little to do with actual cats. There's way more to it, and I don't want to give it away. And I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this. Don't fuck with this. And
My
it's some
daughter has been telling
crazy-
me for almost a year to watch it, and I ignored her every time because I was like, I don't want to watch. I thought it was about chasing down people who posted violent videos harming animals.
Right.
It starts out that way, but it goes so much
It makes
further.
a turn that you don't see coming, and then it keeps doing it. And it makes more turns that you won't see coming.
Yeah.
And more to the very end. Right up to the very end. It keeps doing stuff. You're like, nuh-uh.
So I actually thought about this. It's a wild little mini.
It's like 3 episodes, isn't it?
It's only 3 episodes.
It's an easy watch.
Yeah, but it's not easy.
Well,
but
no. It's a short.
quick
I'll say
one.
it's a short watch. Yeah.
But I actually thought about it with the Capitol riots because it's so much about internet sleuths and Capitol riots when they were trying to figure out who was who with all the videos that people were, stupidly live streaming of themselves proudly, taking dumps on desks and all the stuff they were doing. There were people who were internet sleuthing, and they were uncovering who was who because so-and-so had a Pennsylvania fire patch and so-and-so had a piece of armor that could only be made from this place. And there were hundreds of people. There was a producer on a podcast that I listened to that's actually not political, so that makes it funny. She spent 12 hours basically figuring out who one woman was who was vandalizing stuff, and she was able to figure it out. She's a producer on a podcast. She's not a FBI person. She's not a detective. So I thought it was actually kind of similar to Don't Fuck with Cats. Like, all these people were like, oh, let's figure out who this is. And they were able to figure out the guy who was beating the police officer into unconsciousness with the flag. Internet sleuths were able to figure out who that was. And he was from Colorado.
Saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not be doing
Up in
that.
Colorado. He's being held without bail. So
Yeah, I can't. I gotta be careful in my comments with you. I gotta really be careful. But it's cool that they do that. I would like to see that a little bit more even-handed.
yeah, I thought it was interesting, and I thought it just kept reminding me of Don't Fuck with Cats because these people were really like taking the smallest clues and running with them and figuring things out. So yeah, that's a mind-blowing show though. I love Netflix. I'm sorry that I finished it.
I mean, it was 3. It's really only 3 episodes, isn't it?
No, I finished Netflix.
Oh, yeah, you watched everything on Netflix? But you could probably watch the entirety of Don't Fuck with Cats in like an afternoon if you had time.
That'd be a long.
Well, I mean, if you
depressing afternoon.
at noon, it's a cold day, it's blustery outside, you can't do much else. You need a
No, definitely an afternoon.
Yeah. It's but it goes directions you do not expect, and things happen that you do not see coming, and you're like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
It
true.
is beyond normal, and it's a true story. That's the other part. It's 100% true.
I'm, of course, the person who's like, this can't be true, so I'm Googling it and I'm
Yes.
looking it up.
Yeah,
and
that's right. You were looking stuff up during it.
Yeah, because it was 100% true. Like, mind-blowing.
Yep.
So, got that. There's so much going on in the world.
Oh,
but-
okay. So, local
Oh, yeah, we talked
politician.
about this in the last
Yes. Well,
last podcast.
so, Space
Command.
Force
Yeah.
is Space Force.
I'm sorry.
The command center. It's not Space Command. It's the
You
command.
read Space Command.
Well, I did. I messed up. That's my fault. It's the command for Space Force is being put currently in Huntsville, Alabama.
Right. Everybody thought it was going to be
Colorado Springs got passed over, right?
Yeah.
Now go.
Doug Lamborn, Republican congressperson, who has never said a foul word against Trump. He has, seriously, I mean, this man is the most Trumpist Trump politician you could ever think of. And he is actually calling for a bipartisan inquiry into how Huntsville was chosen, and basically saying that it was political. And I think that his implication or his insinuation is that Trump was mad that Colorado went Democrat, went purple and blue in some ways, and so he's calling for an investigation into that. And I know that it wasn't Trump. I think Charles Hodges actually clarified that it did have some political, but he wants the details on how Alabama was chosen. So I thought that was pretty interesting because Lamborn has never called for bipartisan anything that I can recall in my 20 years in Colorado.
Right. So a couple things on that.
And Lamborn is a lifetime politician.
Trump, I don't think, had very much to do with where Space Command went at all. At least, I mean, he might have had some input behind the scenes, but that's not a presidential thing. That's and Charles Hodges posted on our Facebook how all that happens. It's not the president that does it. Any generic president, any whatever. And if I'm being honest, 100% of all bases that get opened or closed in the military, and there's a lot, it surprises me how much even some military folks don't know this or whatever, or don't get it. The weapons that get chosen have oftentimes little to do with their effectiveness. They have a lot to do with a certain congressman needs something built in their district.
Companies.
That's why the front of the big trucks, and it was Charles Hodges that pointed this out to me, he'd say Oshkosh on the front of them, like Oshkosh Bagosh, because the congressman or senator from Wisconsin who wanted something built in his district got it put into Oshkosh. And so the military rides around with Oshkosh on the front of their big trucks. That has everything to do with that. It's 100% political. Yeah. There's no question that some senator or some congressfolk rallied for that. And I don't know if this guy, I don't know much about this guy. But Congress people realizing that a base going to a certain area is political is a lot like a fish realizing he's in water. It's like, yeah, duh. You know, that's how this happens. So that got decided in a committee. That had nothing to do with...
I think I just thought it was interesting that Lamborn, who has been so in step 100% of the time, even suggested something bipartisan. If you look at his history, that is just not I
can't believe he doesn't. Of course, I don't know how long has he been in office. He may not have been around during
a million years.
If he was around in the base closings post-Cold War, when a lot of Air Force bases and a lot of naval bases and a lot of other things got closed down after the Cold War ended, he would know better than that because there was a lot of that happened and blue ribbon panels were appointed and all that. But if he's come along since then, he may not have the history or the background or even know. But I have a hard time believing that somebody that's as political...
He served in the Colorado State House from 95 to 2006, and then 2006 to present day.
So he was not around in the U.S. Congress when the early part of the Clinton administration when they were doing a lot of base closings. So I don't know if he doesn't realize or doesn't know or if he's just naive or what the deal is. But yeah... was it a political decision? Duh. Hell yeah, it was a political decision.
I would say he probably knows, even if he wasn't in the U.S. House of Representatives, if he was in the Colorado House, then he knew what was going on. Because you can't tell me that somebody who's in a Colorado House isn't looking to the national stage every step of the way.
It's also kind of weird that, I mean, there, like we said last time, there's a lot of federal stuff in and around Colorado Springs. A ton of it. Yeah. Like NORAD's here and the Air Force Base. And
I think that was the assumption because NORAD's here, that it would just naturally be here.
I mean, there is so much federal stuff and military stuff around here that for him to, I don't know, it's just kind of like that got brought here through politics as well. It had, that.
But it's here, so I think that was why the assumption was.
But Huntsville, Alabama has Space Camp. They have that's where a lot of NASA stuff got developed originally, where the German scientists were taken through Operation Paperclip and all of that other business. They have a long history with space in Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah. They didn't just pick that out on a map. So I have a hard time with his having a hard time with it.
I'll be curious to see where it goes. Yeah, I'll be curious to see where it goes. Senate drama.
I mean, okay, another example. The space shuttle that was retired that was put in New York. Do you know about this? One of the space shuttles that was retired sits on an aircraft carrier in Manhattan, in the harbor in New York. It's a tourist thing. Houston, Texas, has NASA and rallied really, really hard to get it.
Right.
But politics, Chucky Schumer got it put in New York. You win some, you lose some. It belongs in Houston. I'm going to be honest with you. It makes more sense that it would be in either Houston or Cape Canaveral, Florida, not New York. New York doesn't have a NASA history. But politics, Chucky Schumer got it put there, and good for them. So they also have rats the size of dogs, so good for them.
They're really like cats, not dogs. Actually, have you seen Nutria rats in Texas?
Nutrias? Yes.
Nutrias,
oh, yeah. I've killed them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because, wow.
If you don't know what you're looking at, that is a bad-looking rodent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even if you do know what you're looking at,
they're also not native. They were brought in because they thought it would be a good idea to let them go in the streams and rivers to chew on. True story. They were to. She just gave me a look. The reason I said true story. They thought they would.
Who thought it was a good idea to bring in a nutrient?
They introduced a lot of invasive species in a lot of places long, years and years ago.
This will be fine.
This will be fine. We'll let them go in the creeks and rivers.
The hippos in Colombia.
We'll get to that in a second. Cocaine hippos. They thought they would help clear the brush along the streams and rivers, and turns out they just took over and they didn't do anything that they thought they were supposed to.
Except scare the pee out of people because they are
and they're a giant glorified rat.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, with big teeth.
So, cocaine hippos. We can talk about... God, we got a lot to talk about.
Okay, when you sent me that article on cocaine hippos, I was like, I am not opening this.
Well, I sent it to you on purpose because you love hippos. I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas is your favorite Christmas carol.
It is my favorite song, hands down. We can sing it right now if you want.
No.
And I stand by, and that is a hill I will die on. I love that song. Love that song.
I don't dislike it, but I heard it about 20 million times this past Christmas.
Maybe 21 million.
21 million.
And it's still wonderful.
So back in the day, everyone's favorite uncle, Pablo Escobar, when he was at the time the richest man in the world, imported 4 hippos.
Just 4.
Just 4. Into the country of Colombia as his pets. And I guess he had we're going to call it an estuary, for lack of a better term,
right,
for his 4 pet hippos. And honestly, that was probably pretty nice. Well, as we all know, he met with an untimely demise.
And hippos did not.
The hippos kept going. And so from those 4 hippos, there's now an estimated couple hundred hippos.
Yeah. 200 hippos is a lot of hippos.
That's a big lot of hippos.
Yeah.
In the country of Colombia, and they're destructive as hell.
And they have no natural predators.
No, nothing messes with a hippo. Even in Africa, nothing jacks with a hippo.
Don't more people die from hippos than
if they're not the number one,
cats?
And this surprises people, hippos kill more people in Africa than even like lions and some of the other stuff.
Yeah,
it's like them and crocs.
All the cats combined, hippos still kill more people.
Yes.
200 hippos and
they're surprisingly fast on land. Even though
I have to say, I kept reading that article. I was waiting for the hippos to do coke. They don't.
They don't.
They
were paid for by cocaine.
Yes. They
But Uncle Pablo had him some pets, and they're extremely dangerous, and the country of Colombia and the biologists down there and even some of the ones in the US are like, okay, realistically the only way we're going to be able to solve this is to kill them.
Right.
There's not any other.
So there may be a run on hippo.
There may be somebody I know. I happen to know a thing or two about the hunting business and industry. Maybe you can sell hippo hunts in Colombia. Take plenty of gun though.
Yeah.
Your 6.5 Creedmoor ain't going to do it.
They said it's beyond being able to sterilize them. Or
no. You ain't going to be able to.
You have to cull the herd. Yeah.
You're not going to. You can't do that with wild hogs in Texas. You're going to have to do
cocaine hippos.
Cocaine hippos.
That is a
got me a cocaine hippo. I'm going to book my hunt and go on my cocaine hippo hunt. Honey, in Colombia. Nothing to see here. Totally that white powder under my nose. I was eating a donut. So
I'm pretty sure that if you go to Colombia, somebody's going to pay attention to this podcast.
You think?
Just saying.
Well, if you're in Colombia, you're outside of the reach of anybody listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Actually, Colombia. So, okay, back to the riots, just because this is funny.
Okay.
I know media tends to get a little hysterical, and they tend to make things much more dramatic because, as we've talked about before, that's what sells.
Mm-hmm. I'm listening.
And one of the correspondents, I can't remember what his name was talking about he felt like he was covering the drug wars in Colombia, and Colombia actually responded. Like, the country of Colombia responded and said, hey, we haven't had any attempted coups in several decades, so leave us out of your mess.
That's interesting.
Pretty much literally word for word.
We're 30 years coup-free.
I just thought it was funny that Colombia, like on their verified Twitter account, was like, whoa, no, not us.
So you were mentioning earlier that somebody had introduced, or I think you when we very first started, you were talking about the Fairness Doctrine.
Oh, that Tulsi Gabbard introduced a bill to bring it back because it had died out. Talk about what the Fairness Doctrine is, because obviously, based on the look on your face.
No. I want you to tell me what was introduced in this particular version, because honestly, this is the first time hearing about it.
So she was basically just wanting it to come back into play. Fairness Doctrine was enacted in 1940s, late 1940s, if I'm not mistaken.
We may be talking about two different fairness doctrines then.
Fairness Doctrine is for media. Mm-hmm. And basically it was saying that media had to be fair and balanced, to borrow...
To borrow Fox News?
Yes. Had to be fair and balanced and had to present both sides of the story. In the 1980s, I think it was 1987 or 89, it expired. And I think that the expiration of it, my understanding, is the expiration of that kind of gave birth to where we are with media today. And so there have been calls to bring it back, but the issues with that, and I'm sure you have several issues based on the look on your face. And,
What look on my face, honey?
And the twitch that you have going.
What look on my face, honey?
But, so there have been calls for it, but the thing is it has nothing to do with the world as we know it today with the internet. It is with FCC broadcast stations.
Sure is.
So not a lot of people are watching cable news these days on cable.
Right.
So, all right, go.
So the Fairness Doctrine was actually attempted back in the 90s during the Clinton administration, when the Clinton administration had a complicit media that went along with him 100%, except one or two people who were predominantly on AM radio, notably
Alex Jones.
No. It wasn't Alex Jones. It was Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity. And they had millions of listeners. They had, whether or not you... Okay, I'll say this. Whether or not you like Rush Limbaugh, and sometimes he gets on my nerves too, I get it, and I cannot listen to Sean Hannity. However, the talent has to be respected. At any given time, Rush has anywhere from 10 to 20 million listeners at any given moment, right? The left has never been able to penetrate talk radio, ever. They've tried it with Air America and all of that other business, and they've never been able to cross that. So the Fairness Doctrine of the 90s was introduced to try to put a shackle on talk radio so that counterpoints had to be given.
Okay, so that's different.
And Rush Limbaugh's point was, no. I am equal time. And he was right, because the media at the time, there was no Fox News at the time, that hadn't come along yet. There was no internet at the time, that also hadn't come along yet. All you had was the alphabet soup of the mainstream media and one or two conservatives on, and again, it was AM radio, G. Gordon Liddy, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, those guys, who were giving counterpoints and were arguing the other side, and the left couldn't do anything. The Clintons couldn't, quite frankly, it was the Clintons that couldn't do anything about it, and they were pissed off about it. So the Fairness Doctrine got reintroduced, but it was defeated. So when you say Fairness Doctrine, to me, you're talking about a whole different... You're saying, to me, that's muzzling First Amendment. We don't need counterpoint. There's no counterpoint to MSNBC or CNN or any of that other business. They get to say what they want. Or Fox or anybody else. Okay. There's no counterpoints that are required of anybody else until you get on FCC stuff, and they specifically mean conservative talk radio, because the left has never been able to penetrate that market for whatever reason. And to be honest, there's only a handful. Radio's a tough business to crack into to get that many listeners. Rush has been on the air 30-something years. And it's taken an incredible long time for him to build that particular empire. Not just anyone can do that. I don't care how popular you are in other realms. The most popular rock star in the world could get a talk show and not do well on it. It's just a matter of whether or not you can pull it off. So when you say Fairness Doctrine, to me, you're talking about muzzling First Amendment.
So I'm not.
Okay.
I'm talking about 1949 to late 1980s.
Right.
And you look at the trajectory from the 80s, late 1980s, early 1990s to now, and you have the birth of what we have now. You've got two sides who tell their truths.
And that happened naturally. That happened organically, though. This is the government making somebody have a counterpoint, and I'm not for that. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but I also see that we've reached a point in 2021 where we've got, QAnon, we've got people who believe such nonsense because it's been able to be put out there.
Well, that's fine. You also have people like AOC and other folks in Congress saying we need to rein in the media and we need to do whatever. That's not their place. That's not their business. And quite frankly,
Trump said that too.
Quite frankly, it's none of their business.
Trump said that too
AOC has said it specifically on here lately. Trump was talking about fake news and all that.
No, Trump said until the last day in office, Trump was still trying to get Section 230.
The best thing for an argument you don't agree with
is a better argument. And we've talked about that.
Not trying to pass a law, and it's not the government's business, and it's not, and I will fight this tooth and nail. They have no business interfering with, as long as you're following the normal rules of the FCC that have been in there forever. No cussing, none of that other stuff, whatever. We now have the internet. We now have cable news. We've got any number of media out there for you to pick and choose and listen to or not listen to or whatever. The government has zero business trying to enforce counterpoints, and this is 100% for conservative media. It is. They've never been able to control conservative talk radio, and they're wanting to. Plain landed.
I feel like I should just give you the platform and let you go.
Sorry, but I'm passionate about the Fairness Doctrine. I am way not for it. Because, I mean, you and I do it naturally and organically here.
So here's the thing. You just actually made my point. We've got the internet. We've got podcasts. Mm-hmm. We've got media as defined by the FCC. Mm-hmm. You can't cuss on media defined by the FCC. On podcasts, on the internet, you can pretty much say whatever you want.
Right.
So why not make, as it was for almost 50 years, 40 years, why not make the FCC regulated channels that cannot cuss, cannot show nudity, cannot do things before 9 p.m., why not require that one leg of media be somewhat balanced? Because you got all the other legs.
What business is it of theirs?
Well, they tell you can't cuss.
They don't. That's regulating speech.
They tell you can't cuss.
And I'm sorry, but there may have been a Fairness Doctrine between the 40s and the 80s. But
can I finish my sentence?
Dan Rather signed off of the nightly news at 6 o'clock, there was no guy that came on at 7 o'clock and gave the conservative news. There was none of that.
Can I finish?
Please do.
So it's okay for them to say you can't cuss, you can't show nudity, you can't say certain things before 9 p.m., but it's not okay for them to require anything else. So you're saying it's okay to a certain level, but not...
I'm fine with
so you're
no
fine
cussing with, and all of that.
But if you're going to be...
But those rules have been agreed to since the 1940s. But that was not the Fairness Doctrine.
The Fairness Doctrine was 1940s.
Not Fairness Doctrine, as this generation knows it, has 100% to do with conservative talk radio.
It has nothing to do. It does.
It has everything to do with conservative talk and nothing whatsoever to do with Dan Rather signing off back in the 80s.
You're stating your opinion as fact. It's your opinion.
Okay, show me where in our lifetime on any nightly news prior to cable news when any talking head gave an opinion, there was a point-counterpoint as mandated by law. Now, it may have happened on some talk shows, but mandated by law, show me where that has happened.
In our lifetime?
In our lifetime, it hasn't.
After the 1980s? It hasn't.
Right. It wasn't before either. Edward R. Morrow did not have a counterpoint when he got off of the air back in the 1960s. When he would rail against whatever was going on at the time, there was not a counterpoint as mandated by law. I honestly
can't speak to that because I wasn't born, so I cannot speak to that.
This has 100% to do with muzzling conservative speech.
Is your opinion.
Okay. And
and it's a very strong one, obviously.
Anybody's welcome to do the research, but the Fairness Doctrine, as anybody pretty much alive today knows it, is from the 90s during the Clinton administration.
And see, I did not know that. So, again, your opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, look, fact check. Google me. Google the shit out of it.
Well, you know I'm going to.
Go ahead.
And you could not say that on cable.
I'm going from memory here.
No, I'm saying you could not say that cuss word that you just said.
I know, that's fine.
So,
but we're on podcast. We didn't.
So there's another leg.
There's another leg.
And say what you want.
And I can say what I want. And if we wanted to show nudity, there's ways for that too. I mean, no, we're not doing that. But I'm saying if we could go as crazy as we wanted to. But if I wanted to be on the radio, and I have been on the radio as a side gig before,
right?
Where not cussing was every third thought in my mind. So because there's rules for it, and I accepted that when I got behind that microphone. Behind this microphone, it's different. So mandating a Fairness Doctrine for...
So you were okay with some of the...
I'm okay with some regulations on regular radio.
I feel like you're just proving my point. But
no, I'm not.
We're going to have to agree to disagree.
I'm okay, regular radio that your kids are listening to with the country music station or the mix station or the whatever you're listening to, and the DJ, Howard Stern had to deal with that for years and years and years, and finally he went to satellite radio. It opened up a new market, a new thing was created. More stuff was created out of it. But to sit here and say that there has to be a point-counterpoint. There was no counterpoint to Howard Stern on the radio. That didn't happen.
Who could counterpoint Howard Stern?
He's actually one of the better interviewers out there today.
He's a great interviewer.
I have to say,
and he's gotten away from his shock.
He doesn't do shock anymore.
No.
Even a celebrity you don't care about, that you don't know anything about, being interviewed on his show, it's like, oh, wow. I didn't know they went through that.
I haven't heard him in several years, but I actually, even when he was shock, he could still drill down and get people to talk about things that were interesting.
All right.
Besides the shock value that got him ratings. So.
Oh, well.
Huh.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on the Fairness Doctrine.
Are we going to disagree about the agreeing to disagree?
No, you can do what you want. Whatevs.
Isn't it nice that life is a little boring? We made it through Wednesday. I'm sorry to all the people who are devastated and have to find... And I'm talking to the Q people.
That's fine. Yeah. Nothing has changed. Just the coverage has changed. It's the coverage of, as will happen with the coronavirus and COVID-19, all that. Nothing has changed with that. The people are still dying.
Oh, yeah.
Coverage is going to...
I think 4,000 people died on Friday.
Well, you watch the coverage start sliding off of that real fast.
I don't think so.
Watch.
All right.
I'll
we need to put a pin in this podcast.
We're going to put a pin in that statement. Yeah. I'll bet you a Coke that, all of a sudden, you're going to start going I ain't seen a COVID post in 3 damn days is going to start happening. So
that might coincide with the levels of vaccinations.
Well,
we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see. You got anything else? Because, we've been gabbing for a while.
I got stuff to do.
You got stuff to do. I got steaks to cook. Oh, I got steaks to cook.
Yes, you do.
I know.
You better get on that.
One thing Robin and I do agree with. We may not agree on everything, but we like us some steaks. So, as usual, Robin is correct.
Ryan is right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.